Hey everyone, it's Keely here for Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for today's video, which is going to be a little bit different to my usual ones. This video is going to be more aimed at the creators than it is at my customers, but if you do still want to watch, that's fine by me too. Today I'm going to be talking to you about some changes that I've been making, as well as announce the release of a brand new website that I've been working on and I'm so excited to finally have out there. But first up, we'll discuss the changes. Now, quite a few of you know that I have a Patreon page, which I set up in January of 2020 called Create with Soy and Shea. And the idea behind this Patreon page was to share a lot of the knowledge that I had about running a business. And a lot of this knowledge has come from either having my Bachelor of Business degree, through the practical hands-on experience of working in other people's businesses, as well as running my own business. And for the last 5.5 years, I have shared a lot of information on different aspects of the business that I'm currently in. I have shared information about soap making. I have shared information about marketing, branding, packaging. I've also shared information about formulating and how ingredients work or don't work with each other, what the basic building blocks are for different sort of products that are out there, and that sort of thing. Now, over the years, I feel that I have shared a lot of information on the Patreon page. And I am kind of at a point where burnout is not quite the right word, but I am struggling to come up with new and exciting content for Patreon. I love the community that I have there. I love being able to share the knowledge that I have and being able to watch people grow their businesses. I get so many emails from Patreon members who have said, I'm really sorry, but I am having to stop my membership. I don't think I'm going to be able to get any more out of it. I've learned how to make my own recipes. I've learned this, that, and the other, and my business is flourishing. It's like, fantastic. Bye. That's kind of like my ultimate goal, is for people to be able to have enough confidence to then step away and run their own businesses without having someone to walk by their side at the same time. That is my ultimate goal with Patreon. And over the years, I have seen a lot of that happen. But a few months ago, I did do a live with my members, and I discussed with them the challenges that I was having with coming up with new and exciting content. At the time, I didn't realize I was in perimenopause, and that was also contributing to the struggles that I was facing. And I am at the moment in a much better frame of mind, but I think that is also because I have started to implement the changes that I was talking to them about. Now, in the past on Patreon, I have pretty much shared the information as a theory-based sort of thing. I put out posts that give, both sides of every story so people can make their decision about what works best for their business. I have put out theory posts based on psychology of customers and things like that. And I've pretty much run out of ideas of what to share. And I wanted to start sharing, rather than the theory side of things, the practical side of things, how I am putting the theories that I know into practice within my own business. And when I actually suggested this to my Patreon members, they were very excited to hear about these changes and were very positive about them. And I said I would start working on them, and by July we would have them in place. And I had a few other things I was working on to go along with it. Well, we've come to July and it's time for me to start making those changes, and I am pleased to say that they are now all in place. So up until now, I've had a few different levels open on Patreon. Some have been opened and closed and aren't available anymore, but are reopening. But each level had sort of a different focus. We had a $3 US tier, or a US $3 tier, that was very much so based on soap making, things that I knew about fatty acid profiles, how they affect soap, the things that you could do to prevent soda ash, that sort of thing. Also a lot of tips and tricks of doing little things, like when it came to photography, how to make it a bit easier. There were supplier lists. I also shared soap formulas on that tier as well. It did actually get closed last year because I did feel I'd shared everything I possibly could and had nothing more to give. So I did actually close that tier out. And then we had our Grow Your Business tier, which was all about the theories and practicalities of running a business. Everything from branding, packaging, shipping, social media, that sort of thing. And then we had the last tier, which was all about formulating and tweaking. So I shared things I had learned through, practical experiences, as well as extra courses that I had done based on why certain ingredients have to appear in certain products and what do and don't work together, and how to build from a basic building block of a type of formula and tweak it into what you want. So I've shared an awful lot of information on those different tiers. What I want to do moving forward from now is change these tiers. So rather than focusing on specific areas of running a business within the bath and body industry, I want to actually create my page to be all about being behind the scenes, how I apply theory into a practical situation within my business. And that is basically where we are going. Now, I have been testing some of these sort of posts on the Patreon page for a little while, and I've noticed that these posts do get a lot more interaction and engagement with my current members, and feel this is the right way to actually go moving forward. So rather than being a theory-based site to come to now, it is going to be more about behind the scenes. It's going to be more of a blog or vlog style of getting information out there, but there will still be a lot of information that you can take away and apply into your own businesses. You might see how I tackle doing something as simple as packing up an order, and you might think, oh, I really like how she does that. I'm going to implement that as well. So there will still be a lot of information that you can take away and apply to your own businesses, but it is going to be a very different format going forward, and very much so a behind the scenes. I will still be sharing formulas, and we will talk about that a little bit more in a moment, but it is pretty much going forward from now a behind the scenes experience rather than sharing business stuff. I did decide, because I was actually changing it from being a lot more informative to that behind the scenes, that we were going to open up 3 tiers so people could make a choice of where they wanted to go. So for any of my current members, if you do want to drop a tier, go for it. If you just feel that that's going to be better for you, I will not be offended at all. What I decided to do is open up these 3 tiers, and I also wanted to change the names of them for a couple of reasons. I wanted the names to reflect sort of the progression through our industry, and I also wanted to make the levels a lot more easier to refer to. Currently, you'll hear me referring to them as the US $5 and the US $10 tier, and it does cause a lot of confusion. A lot of people don't hear the US in front of the dollar amount, and they come along in their own currency and they think they're going to pay $5 or €5 or something like that, and don't realize it is $5 US. I particularly find this happens with Canada and Australia, because we use the dollar, and people often write to me and say, I can't find the $5 tier. It's like, because it's the American, that, it's in American dollars, so it will probably be around this sort of value for you in your currency. I wanted kind of avoid using dollar amounts now. They still show to me in my background as US dollars, but you can pay for things in your own currency. But rather than referring to the tiers as a currency value, I wanted to refer to them as a name. So I did ask my patrons to have a bit of a vote on what names they wanted to be used on the tiers. And they have voted to have curious, creative, and artisan. So curious is for those people who are just purely curious about what I do within my business. You're just going to get those behind the scenes views into what I am doing, what I'm working on, how things are progressing and that sort of thing. It also reflects those people when we start off in the industry of being curious about making bath and body products. The next step up is when we become creative and start creating our own sort of recipes and things like that. But for the creative level, this is, again, you're going to get all those behind the scenes look into the business, but I will still be sharing the formulas with you as I have been doing in the past. So on the creative level, you will be getting the current month's recipe, the previous 3 months recipe, and a recipe that has been released from the past recipes. And these are all voted on by patron members. So at that creative level, you will actually get access to 5 recipes when you first join, and then it's kind of like rolling on from there. And then finally, we have that last step, which is artisan. That's when we've kind of got beyond the creative and we've become really confident with what we're doing, and we're creating our own unique sort of products. So this is kind of like the highest tier that's going to be there. And again, it's going to be pretty much all that behind the scenes. There may be the odd extra post in there, but pretty much it is going to be the same as the creative. The only real difference will be is that you get 6 months worth of previous recipes rather than the 3. So that gives you access to 8 recipes when you first join up. And then again, it rolls on from there. So I did open up that first tier. So for those of you that are just with me to see what I'm doing behind the scenes and are not particularly wanting to get the formulas, you can always drop back down to that curious level. And for those of you that have been on that higher tier, if you just don't feel that you're going to be getting the value and you want to drop back to that middle tier, by all means go ahead and do that. If you're doing that partway through your pledge month, you do still get access to that tier for the rest of the month, and then your new tier will kick in at the start of a new pledge. So they are the 3 new tiers that are now available. And as I said, rather than being that sort of theory based, it is going to be very much so the behind the scenes of what I do in my business. Now, for all of you that are starting to panic of, oh, she's not going to bring any more vlogs out, that is not the case. The big long vlogs are still going to come out here on YouTube. I'm just showing the little bit more of the behind the scenes over on Patreon. So there'll be more of the little mini vlogs. I cannot bring them out onto YouTube. It's a lot of extra work. So the big long vlogs are not stopping, but if you want to see more of the behind the scenes of, the weekly struggles and things like that, Patreon is the place to go, starting at that curious level. Now you would have noticed that I very briefly brushed over the recipe side of things. I've not really focused on them. And that is because Patreon for me is more about running a business. The recipes and formulas are a secondary thing or secondary feature that I offer. And that is because when you run a business, you can have 20 or 30 absolutely fantastic products and formulas. But if you have no idea on how to package, market, brand, sell yourself, ship the products and communicate with your customers, none of those products matter. To me, it is all about running your business. And they do say that a majority of a business is pretty much 90 to 95% the running of the business, and the products or service is only a very, very small 5% of your business. So I've always focused on the actual running of a business with Patreon as opposed to the actual formulas that I share. But I do appreciate there are a lot of people who just want the formulas. And when Patreon allowed or brought in the shop feature, I started uploading my actual formulas into the shop so that my Patreon members did get access to those formulas as they always had. But if you were not a paying member, you could always come onto Patreon. You do need to create an account on Patreon, but you don't need to join my page, and you could then purchase the recipes. But that was brought in probably about a year or so ago, and I have had a lot of feedback from people who have always said that they just don't want to join Patreon. They don't want to join this website for any reason. There's been lots of reasons people have given me, but they don't want to join the actual Patreon website, but they do want access to my recipes. I've had people offer to pay me through PayPal and then me send them, which I won't do. That's how fraud does happen. For me, it has to go through a proper selling platform. When I bought out Pimp My Soap, I did put some of my formulas on there, and people were quite happy to come over onto my website and purchase them then. But as you know, or may not know, I did close Pimp My Soap down last year because at the end of the day, it is cheaper to make your own soap dough than to buy from somebody else. So the website really wasn't working the way I wanted it to, even though there had been a demand. It really wasn't coming through. So I closed the website down, which meant people then didn't have access to those recipes. And a lot of people have been saying to me that they want access to the recipes, but don't want to come to Patreon. And this is why I've decided to launch a new website, which is solely dedicated to the formulas and recipes that I have been sharing over on Patreon. Now, over the 5.5 years that I have had Patreon going, I have got more than 50 formulas that I have shared. Not all of these are currently available for people to purchase because I am in the processes of going through and fixing up these formulas so that they are in a sellable format. When I first launched Patreon, I wasn't very formal with the way I was putting these recipes out. They were basically 2, maybe 3 pages that were, you need, X amount of X, Y, and Z ingredients. Here's the method, off you go. When I launched Pimp My Soap, I started changing the format in which I was writing these recipes to make them a little bit more formal. So I would give information about the ingredients, why they were included, what alternatives you could use. I'm giving a few more notes and things about the actual recipe and just making them into a better, longer format. And the pages, they're generally now about 5 or 6 pages long rather than 2. And I have slowly been going through trying to update all these formulas and getting them onto the Patreon website. But it has been slow going because I just haven't been inspired to do it. But now that I've got the DIY body care website up and running, which is the new name, DIY Body Care, I am slowly going through, and my aim is to get at least 1 to 2 formulas uploaded onto that website every week from my little collection of past recipes. And each month there will be a new recipe listed onto the website. That website is now live and running under diybodycare.com.au, and it is still growing. So I think there's about 20 recipes on there at the moment, and I've got another, I think about 4 that I am getting ready to load on there. So each week there are more and more recipes appearing on there. And once we've got all those past recipes on there, you'll start seeing a brand new recipe on there every week. Now, with the DIY Body Care website, it is all in Australian dollars. So if you are here in Australia, you are going to be better off coming to the Australian-based website to purchase formulas, because it is going to be cheaper for you than with the conversion rate. Everything on Patreon, for me, I have to load in US dollars, and I'm really sorry, I'm not going to sit down every month and work out what the new rate is on there to work out the equivalent Australian dollar rate. So if you are on the Patreon shop, you can potentially pay more for formulas. So I do highly recommend coming over onto the DIY Body Care website to make purchases of any formulas that you would like. And when you purchase the formulas there, they are an instant download for you. So once that payment's gone through, you will get a download link. You'll also get an email with that download link. It also gives me a record of who has purchased what. So if in the future you have lost a recipe and you've lost the download link, I can easily look you up, make sure that you did purchase it, and resend that download link to you. So I'm really, really excited to have bought out this DIYbodycare.com.au website. Let me know what you think about it. If you do join the Curious level, in fact, if you join any level on Patreon, on the higher levels, you do get access to a certain number of recipes, but as a Curious member, you will also get a discount code each month, a minimum of 20% sometimes, depending what's happening. You may get a little bit more, but you will get a minimum of a 20% discount code to be able to use on the new website. So if you do want to purchase the new recipe, you do get that discount. And typically that 20% is actually equivalent to your monthly membership as a discount from off the DIY Body Care formula. So you do actually end up getting that money back in a roundabout way if you do decide to purchase, and possibly even more if you purchase several of the recipes. But I'm really, really excited to have this DIY Body Care website up and out there. I do believe I'm able to set up a little bit of a blog, so we might see if we can get a little bit of information going on there as well. So it's still a work in progress. Bear with me as I work on it. I can tell you the energy levels I've got have gone up a little bit, and I have been able to put a lot of work into this website over the last few days and feeling really, really positive about it. And I do hope that this is a easier way for people, or not just an easier, but a more comfortable way for people to go and get access to the formulas that I have been sharing. And you'll find everything from soap, creams, lotions, perfumes, all sorts of different formulas over there that I have shared. So I'd love to know what your opinion is of the new website, and if you're a Patreon member, what you think of the changes that I've made over there as well. Okay, so that is it. The changes to the Patreon page, I hope people enjoy them, and that it does give people a bit more of an insight into how I actually run my own business. I hope you do also like the new website. If you do join up to the newsletter, that you can join through there. Starting as of August, I will then be sending out emails just to let you know what the new recipe is each month. But hopefully everyone enjoys these changes that have come out. I know I'm feeling super excited and very much so energized by them, and really look forward to bringing more for you. I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me today. If you did, why not leave me a thumbs up? Any comments down below, let me know what you think of the changes. And until the next video, I hope you have a good one. I'll see you then. Bye.